Hey there, my name is Andrew Wall, host and executive producer here at Illuvium, and welcome to Private Beta 2. Thank you for spending your valuable time to help us beta test our games. So what's new in Private Beta 2? Well, there's a number of major upgrades as we went from Private Beta 1 to Private Beta 2. We have new units, 106 new units, with over 70 tier zeros and over 30 lynxes in Private Beta 2. In terms of mastery points, you now gain 10% interest per round for your unused mastery points. That's a change. We've added our Augments system to Private Beta 2, where you can equip your Illuvials to power them up and add extra effects. Checkpoints are now a feature, so in competitive mode, you will save your progress every 5 waves, and in training mode, it'll save every single wave, so that if you die, you can go back to the checkpoint and restore from that point and try to move forward in survival mode. I won't go over all of the changes with Private Beta 2. There were tons of rebalancing changes that happened to the Illuvials, the Hyper System, the Synergies, the Omegas. Pretty much everything was rebalanced and hopefully is an upgrade in this new beta. Let's get into the game and I'll show you the basics and the advanced systems within Private Beta 2 to help you on your way in survival mode. Welcome to survival mode, where players battle against increasingly powerful waves of enemies. The wave limit is increased to 40, by the way, using a randomly generated deck that you'll see here at the bottom of your screen. Each wave you defeat earns you mastery points, which you use to command a stronger team, and the goal is to last as long as possible. After defeating a wave, you gain mastery points. You can see your total mastery points available right here. Each Illuvial has their mastery point cost listed on the top of the card. Even your weapons and armament have the mastery points listed under each individual one, so you can do the math on those. Mastery points are used to command Illuvials and materialize armaments. They are fully refundable if you return an Illuvial to your deck or reselect an armament. So for example, if I put Rake out, it took those mastery points away. If I remove Rake from the board, it refunded those mastery points, as you can see here. In terms of Illuvial filtering, at the bottom of the screen, you can filter Illuvials by their affinity, right down here. Nature, fire, earth, water, and air. Click any of these and you can filter by that affinity. You can also filter by stage, Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3 at the bottom of the screen, and by class, Empath, Scion, Rogue, Bulwark, Fighter, you name it, you select your combination and it will filter it down to the exact Illuvial you're looking for so you can deploy them on the battle board. You can drag and drop Illuvials onto the battle board to deploy them. If you'd like to recall them, you can drag them out of bounds or back to your deck. You can see the total number of Illuvials available right here. There are 8 total Illuvials available, and with your Ranger, that increases the total number of units that you can play to a maximum of 9. You'll also see the number of return points available. As you can see, I have 0, which means I cannot return any more Illuvials this wave. Your Ranger is free to deploy on the board, but anything other than the default armaments costs mastery points to deploy. So as you can see, the default here costs 0, and any additional armaments will have their associated mastery points next to their cards. To discover synergies, the right-hand panel shows the enemy team synergies. You need to take this into account as you make strategic decisions. And the left-hand panel is your team's synergies. You want to be countering the enemy team with your synergies. If you'd like to get more information about an Illuvial, just right-click it, and more information will appear. In the case that a wave is really close, we must disallow ties and cap the battle duration. To solve this, we've added Overload. It begins at the 40-second mark and continues for 20 seconds. Each second, the battle board will pulse with purest damage, equal to a percentage of the max health of each combat unit. These damage pulses increase by 5% per second. This doesn't necessarily guarantee a clear winner, and occasionally the enemy and ally may feint at the same time step. In this case, the combat unit with the highest damage overflow percentage remains alive. Illuvium Arena requires some fast decision making to be effective, so we've added convenient hotkeys and commands on a nice image on our official article. You can find this in the description of this video. Let's talk about the strategic systems that are available in Private Beta 2, including the Affinity and class systems. As mentioned earlier, you can sort your affinities here at the bottom of the screen. Also, you can sort your classes as you're choosing which Illuvials to deploy on the battle board. Be sure to experiment with certain affinities and certain classes and see which ones counter which and which placements are best as you're playing Private Beta 2. Our Synergy system provides significant depth to our auto battle modes, and this is where you increase your team's power. There are two types of Synergies, primary and composite. Composite Synergies are more powerful as they are a combination of two primary Synergies and they offer your team more flexibility. So for example, I'll deploy Seer, and as you'll see on the left-hand side, not only do I have primary Synergies of Fire and Earth, but we also have Magma, which is a combination of Fire and Earth and is a composite Synergy. Now let's talk about Threshold. You increase your Synergy bonuses by deploying compatible Illuvials until you reach a new threshold. So in this example, I'll deploy this Nature Scion Illuvial, giving me 1 on my threshold for Nature primary Synergy. Then I'll deploy this Stage 1 Illuvial, and it gives me 2 Nature threshold. Then, if I deploy this additional Nature Illuvial, notice how I got an additional level on my thresholds, giving me 30 max health recovery on my threshold for this primary Synergy. There are 3 stages of Illuvials available in Private Beta 2. Stage 1, Stage 2, and Stage 3. You can filter them at the bottom. For example, if I were to deploy a Singe, that would be the same line of Illuvial as a Seer. So be mindful that if you deploy 2 of the same line, only the higher stage will count towards your Synergy threshold. And in this case, Seer is the higher stage Illuvial. You can see the little icon in the top right-hand corner of his card that he is a Stage 3 versus Singe, which is a Stage 2. Be mindful of this. And also note that Stage 1s will always start with 2 primary Synergies. Stage 2s and 3s will add composite Synergies to your strategic considerations. Let's talk about composite Synergies. These composite Synergies will have multiple primaries combined into one. When you add composite Synergies to your strategy, they will help you move up thresholds in your primaries as well. However, primaries do not increase your thresholds for composites. Let me show you a cool example of Ramfire. Ramfire, as you can see, added 2 primary Synergies to the mix. However, look at Inferno Composite Synergy. It is Fire plus Fire. So, composite Synergies are not always 2 different primaries. Sometimes they can be 2 of the same primary, adding additional complexity and interest to your strategic considerations in Illuvium Arena. Don't forget innates. The number on the right-hand side, right over here, you see that fire icon, the number 2 right here? That is your innate count. Innates are not tied to your threshold, and you can view them right here, and they are permanently active for that particular composite Synergy. Next, let's talk about weapons and armor, otherwise known as armaments. They are how the Ranger gains power and Synergies. Just click the weapon icon, and you'll see a selection of weapons that are available for you. Notice each one has its own mastery point cost and its own attributes. Study these and use your points wisely. Also, your armor is available with a similar system. The Augment system has arrived, and there are 50 Augments available in Private Beta 2. You can sort Augments down here on the bottom bar, and you can turn off Illuvials if you'd like by clicking the Illuvial button, so you can look only at Augments and experiment with this new system. The Illuvial can be modified with their purpose and behavior, strengthen their current role, or give them an entirely new role with Augments. And each Augment features an innate ability used to enhance the Illuvial further. Augments also feature flex stats that allow players to select 2 stat bonuses, and you can add up to 2 augments to each Illuvial. So in this example, I'll give Exalted Powers Ascent to my Illuvial, and notice I can do 2 bonus stats here and select those. And then I could even add a second augment to my Illuvial and choose the bonus stats. Please note with augments, you must recall the Illuvial with the augment attached to remove it, and recalling will refund the Illuvial and augment costs and allow the player to reuse them later. So in this example, I'll move this Illuvial off the board. I got all the augment mastery points and the cost of that Illuvial back for me to deploy on the battle board. There's an extra layer of complexity and interest called the hyper, otherwise known as the counter system, in Illuvium Arena. It activates when a specific Illuvial counters an enemy combat unit, and you'll get an outline or a visual highlight around that Illuvial to let you know that it enabled affinity counters, class counters, and bonus stats and effects. You want your Illuvials to go hyper. This makes them more powerful and more effective, and it means that you've done a good job countering the enemy team. The bonding system in Private Beta 2 allows your ranger to bond with an Illuvial, gaining their dominant synergies and allowing for more complex team synergies. Combining the ranger's weapon of choice creates new composite synergies for your ranger. So for example, I've got this sword that has a water primary synergy. I'm going to bond with this fire Illuvial, and notice how it created a new composite synergy. Water plus fire, steam composite synergy to add more complexity and more interest to my strategy. We're interested in a few areas of feedback from Private Beta 2, and we'll provide you with a feedback form, and we want 100% of beta testers to fill that out completely. And if you get invited in our Discord channel, please freely share your thoughts with us on Private Beta 2. That's the whole point of the beta. The main thing we want feedback on is the user experience. Tell us about the entire experience. Were things simple? Were they complex? What was your experience like? We're trying to improve that as our #1 consideration. We'd also like your feedback on the augments, hyper, and overload systems in Private Beta 2. We do not really want balance feedback. We understand that balance may need to be changed, and we're probably going to drastically change balance based on the data we're getting from you guys actually playing the game. So just play the game, and that will give us the balance feedback we want. The last thing I want to say is thank you for testing Private Beta 2 and spending your valuable time to help us improve our games. We put a lot of love and a lot of work into our games and our titles and the quality of them, and to have you enjoying them and you provide feedback means a lot to our team. Enjoy.